Welcome back. So we are up to session 8. So last week we covered up to verse 17. So we'll do a 3 minutes recap of the 3 verses we covered last week and then proceed. And actually, I was just thinking about this textbook. Out of all the introductory Vedanta textbook, this is one of my favorite book because this is like a pictorial book. Every verse you get one wonderful example about complicated Vedantic idea in a simple way. It has to be noted, Shankaracharya, how he packaged this textbook, because almost every verse comes with a brilliant example. Today also we are going to see four different examples. They are really, really brilliant. So that is what makes this textbook very unique in compared to, means this is my take. Other people may have different opinion, like some people may like Vivek Chudamani or Atmabodha. For me, this is one of the beautiful, beautiful introductory book on Vedanta. So with that, let's just go ahead and go over the topics we covered last week. One of the topic was, especially we were talking about the nature of Atma. First topic we covered was the Atheista or the superimposition theory. Because if Atma is pure, right, how do we feel that I'm the body and I'm the mind? We already discussed that we are Atma, which is different from body and the mind. And the body and the mind are gadgets or tools given to me. The difference is I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am something different other than the body and mind, but I do have it. And I was just quoting one of the psychology book, and I was even showing you the writing there. And they were concluding the same point in a different direction. By concluding that there is a huge difference between saying that I am angry or I have anger in me. This is totally different. So that reason is very well explained by Shankaracharya. He says superimposition. When this body and because of the presence of this body and mind, what happens? We feel that Atma is getting superimposed by the body and the mind characteristics. So the anger is outside of the Atma, but because of the superimposition, I feel that I am angry rather than I have anger. So to demonstrate that, he uses the most traditional example in the Vedanta. So a crystal, when the crystal is near the proximity of a cloth, the color of the cloth is attributed to the crystal. So this crystal appears to be blue, even though that blueness belonging to the cloth, even though the crystal is pure and white, but when you look at the crystal from a distance, it appears that the crystal is blue. So you might have heard this example in different classes by different teacher, but you know from where it is coming from. This is a brilliant example. So we saw Panchakosha. So the next example was the rice, right? So Shankaracharya tells, even though the Atma is pure, you need to discover that pure Atma, because that pure Atma is appeared to be covered by this body and the mind. So he gives another brilliant example, how a rice grain is covered by the husk. So the Atma appears to be covered by the body and the mind. So how do you get the rice out of the husk? So you have to do some process. Like that, we saw that we need to do Shravana, Manana, and Nidithyasana, the 3 steps to uncover. Means just like you uncover the rice grain, just like that you need to uncover the Atma through the study of the scriptures, the Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidithyasanam. And this uncovering can happen only through knowledge. But again, Shankaracharya warned us that for this to work, for this uncovering to work, you have to have a pure and a stable mind. So we saw that. Second point. And the third thing is, even though this Atma there is only one Atma in the entire universe. We had this extensive discussion in Bhagavad Gita and also in the Vedanta. Means we talked about a lot. There is a body, there is a mind, and there is a physical body, there is a subtle body. Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. But Atma is only one. We talked about that. So the one Atma is enlivening every subtle body. When the physical body, subtle body combination is there, the reflection of the Atma happens. So Shankaracharya uses exactly the same argument, right? Means even though your face is there everywhere, but it gets reflected only when the reflecting medium is appropriate. When you have only an appropriating reflecting medium, you can see your face. So even though what happens, your face is always there, but it won't, means if you look in front of a book, you won't see your face. So like that means Atma is there everywhere, but you have to have an appropriate physical body and subtle body combination for the Atma to get reflected. Means again, look at the clarity of these verses. This is just making the very, very complicated Vedantic principles easily understandable to anybody by giving these brilliant examples. And that's why I was saying that this is like a pictorial book. So as kids, we always love to read the first grade book and everything. You can see it's a pictorial book. So like that, every concept is highlighted through a brilliant example. Swami Chinmayananda called this as word painting, a painting made through the words. So that is what Shankaracharya tells. And we are going to continue to discuss the nature of the Atma and how it is different from the body and the mind. That is the topic we are going to continue. So we will continue to verse 18. That is the verse we are going to see today. So Anu, are you in the call?
Yeah.
Could you please chant?
देहेन्द्रिय मनोबुद्धि प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम् तद्वृत्तिः साक्षिणं विद्यात् आत्मानं राजवत्सदा.
Another brilliant example, Atmanam Rajavatsada. Like a king, Atma should be known like that. Let's try to understand this verse brilliantly. So let's go to the simile first and then try to understand. So you can see a king sitting there. And in the presence of king, under the governance of king, when the king is there, right, the governance happens. So the whole law is enforced in the country. The whole system works. People work hard, things get done, and so many activities aligned, and everything is done aligned to the strategy of the country. But do you think that the king physically doing everything? Absolutely not. The king sits there. His presence makes everything else functions properly. One more modern example. Electrical equipments. You have a complicated mixer and a wonderful speaker set. You cannot play any song through that speaker and that mixer unless and otherwise the electricity is there. But what exactly the electricity is doing? The electricity is empowering the devices. So like that, your body, mind, and intellect functions and accomplishes so many things in the world outside. But the Atma, which is completely separated from the body, mind, and sense, it stands out because it is not doing anything. But the presence of Atma makes the body, mind, and intellect to do everything. Got it, right? That's the beauty, because the Atma means just like the electricity is not doing anything, it is just giving the energy, right? And the actual means the playing of the song is done by the player. Actually, the production of the sound is done by the speaker. The mixing is done by the mixer. But without electricity, nothing will happen. But with electricity, the presence of electricity makes everything happen. Beautiful. Just like that, the presence of a king, in the presence of a king, the entire country moves on. The king doesn't need to physically do everything, but his presence will enforce everything to do. And also, he stands completely out from the common crowd. Like that, you have body, infinite number of cells in the body, number of systems in the body, the pancha pranas are there, the panchendriyas are there, the pancha means the actions, the organs of actions are there, your chitta is there, everything is there, and they coordinate so brilliantly and they execute it. Means you do so many things in life, proper and improper, but that happens because of the presence of the Atma. So what's what he tells? Dehendriya manobuddhir. So it is the body, it is separate from your body, senses, mind, and intellect. And the entire world, the Atma is independent. So the Atma is not dependent upon the body or the mind or the senses or intellect or anything external for its existence. Whereas everything else dependent upon Atma for its existence and consciousness. So the Atma, the word used is Tatvitit Sakshinam Vidyat. So Shankaracharya tells, understand that the Atma is like a Sakshi. It is a silent witness, meaning it's a witness. In its presence, everything happens. Atma do not have to do anything, because we saw this in the Bhagavad Gita. Atma is akartaha and abhoktaha. In the presence of Atma, everything else functions. So this is the idea. Again, a brilliant example, exceptionally brilliantly written. That is another verse which demonstrates the key aspect of the Atma. Any questions?
I think all the analogies Shankara gives are very good.
Yes, now you know from where I got all these examples in the Vedanta class.
Yeah.
It was copied.
Yes.
Copyright Shankara. Okay. So one should understand that the Atman is always like a king. What is the characteristics of the king? Distinct from the body, senses, mind, and intellect, which constitutes the entire matter. And it is the witness of their function. In other words, in its presence, everything else functions. So the idea is, the comments as I explained, consciousness is distinct from body, mind, and intellect. Just like electricity is distinct from electrical equipments. And in its presence, every electrical equipment functions properly. So the king, who is simply by its presence, by his presence, make the ministers, get them organizers, and the job done. Like that, in Atma's presence alone, everything else functions. Please contemplate upon these. These are topics of meditation. This is the spiritual meditation we have been talking earlier. If you remember, in the Upasana Yoga, we talked about different types of meditation. So this is expansion meditation. This is value meditation. This is beautiful. Like actually, once this Atmabodha is done, I would just give 5 meditation techniques derived out of this Atmabodha, which will help you to connect with these principles. So I'm already designing that. So once this is done, we can do that. Means we can. I'll give you the instructions, or I'll pass it to Gina. Okay. So this is that verse. So any questions, or anybody wants to add anything, or any comments, please feel free. Okay. So next example is again brilliant example. So let's listen to Anu.
व्यापृतेषु इन्द्रियेषु आत्मा व्यापारी वा अविवेकिनाम् दृश्यते भ्रेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशी.
Mhm. Beautiful verse again, like Vyaprite Shindriyesh Atma, right? You feel that if Atma is not doing anything, right? But that's not what I feel. I feel that I'm doing, I'm thinking, I'm running, I'm acting, I'm sad, everything. So why is that happening? Shankaracharya again explains this. So he tells, Vyapriteshu indriyeshu atma. When the body, mind, and senses are active, what happens? The atma, the static atma, seems to be active. So due to ignorance. So ignorant people, when they see the body and the mind and the senses acting, they feel that the Atma is acting. They don't see that it is not the body and mind and intellect are acting. They feel that Atma is acting because of the ignorance. So for that, he is giving a brilliant example. So the moon in the sky, right? Sometimes have you seen this phenomena? Like when the clouds are moving, you could see that the moon appears to be moving. You saw that, right? So when the clouds are moving in the sky, if you look at the sky, what do you feel?
The moon's moving.
The moon is moving. But is the moon moving? Means of course, the moon and the sun are moving, but from a relative perspective, the moon is static there. The movement is of what? For the what? It is for the clouds. So when the clouds drift across the moon, it appears that the moon is running. Just like that, when the body, mind, and senses in front of the Atma, when they are active, it appears that Atma is active. How is this example? Just how do you feel it? Beautiful example, right?
Very appropriate.
Yeah. It's a brilliant example. So once again, we saw that. Before that, let's pause there and have a couple of minute discussion. So when I talk about Atma, what is this Atma? Anybody want to recap what is Atma? We have discussed about this Atma a lot. But before that, how many Atma is there?
One.
Just one. Yeah. What is the scope of this Atma? Where exactly is this Atma there?
Everywhere.
Right? So how is it, is the Atma subjected to change?
No.
Beautiful. So when the unchanging, unmoving, all-pervading Atma is there, how, means you're saying that, but at the very same time, you're telling that, you're feeling, this is what the Vedanta tells. The Atma is Nityaha, Atma is Satyaha, Atma is Sarvagataha, Atma is, means Achalaha, Atma is Sanatanaha. If you remember Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, we covered this very recently, right? There is a verse, Achedyo Hyamadahyoyam, Achedyo Klesh Mishoshya Yevacha, Nityaha, Sarvagataha, Stanuhu, Achaloyam Sanatanaha. Remember that verse? Nityaha, Sarvagataha, Stanuhu, Achaloyam Sanatanaha. This is the nature of Atma. Stanu, it's stable, right? The roots are very stable. Nobody can shake it. And Achalaha means no movement. And at that point of time, we had an extensive discussion on Atma. When you say movement is possible, right? My pen can move from this hand to this hand. Why? Because at time t, right, the pen is here, and at time t, the pen is not here. So since there is a space, means where the pen is not there, I can move it from here to here. This is the space-wise movement, travel. So this is the simple definition of physics, right? If an object is there in x1, t1, x1, y1, t1, and at the very same time, that object is not there in x2, y2, t1. So what you can do, you can move from x1, y1 to x2, y2. That's a spatial movement. And what is the time-wise movement? Like 50 years back, this pen was not there. 50 years from now, the pen won't be there. So this is conditioned by time also. So that's what we say, right? Desha kala constrained by space and time. And this is exactly what you see in the modern physics also. So this, any object in the world is subjected to space and time constraints. And Atma, which is beyond space, because remember the definition of Atma, Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma. So I quoted, and referred Swamiji's lecture, means those who might have seen the Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma, actually he unpacked and elaborated each of these words. That's exactly what he did in that lecture. So when he was unpacking the Anantam, he said, what exactly is this infinity? And he used all the different types of infinities there, right? The contour theorem of maths. And means in math, you can see multiple types of infinity. And it is not, you cannot put a uniform definition. But in Vedanta, when we say that it is infinity, it is defined in a crystal clear term. And what is that? Desha kala vastu parichinnaha. That which is beyond space, that which is beyond time, that which is beyond objectivity. So that is what is Atma. And this Atma, and my Atma is same as that of your Atma and everybody else's Atma. There is only one Atma. But when that Atma is get reflected in the Jivatma, right, in the body-mind combination, or the physical mind, physical body, subtle body combination, it appears that there is a life. So the problem is we attribute the characteristics of the body and mind to Atma. And Shankaracharya tells, when the body and the mind and the senses are active, it appears that the Atma is active. And to illustrate that, he gives this brilliant example. When the clouds are drifting, it appears that the moon is also drifting. I have no words. This is such a wonderful example.
But Rajaji, question, what does it mean when we say that the Atma is not active?
See, Atma is not doing anything, right? Atma is akartaha. Means, let me just be very clear, right? So when you say that, you means, right, you were in New York at 5 o'clock, and by 8 o'clock you reached South Brunswick or North Brunswick, wherever you are, right? So what does that mean? Physically, you are moving from one location to the other. And in the case of Atma, how can it move? Can you tell me a place where the Atma is not there? The movement is possible only when you are constrained by space. So there is no movement for Atma. And there is nothing can happen to Atma. The body changes because like 20 years back, your body was totally different. And 20 years from now, your body will be totally different. 20 years back, the attributes or the characteristics of your mind was different. And 20 years from now, it would be different. So the changes are happening to everything in the universe, except to Atma. The Atma is not subjected to any change at all, because it is beyond the changes. And it is in its presence, every change happens. So it is a little bit abstract, but that means you cannot go beyond that, because you're, again, the difficulty is you're within the time-space framework, and you are trying to go beyond that. So again, we had the same discussion in the Gita class, right? You're sitting in the immanent space and you're trying to understand the transcendent. So we may have to keep that in our mind. So even in physics, this appears as a difficult situation. They find it difficult to answer. And even the scientific movies, like anybody watch the movie Interstellar?
Yes.
Yeah. How many people understand that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So because the dad goes to the space, when he comes back, the daughter is almost about to die. And for the dad, it was just one day, but for the daughter, it's almost 100 years. Yeah. So that type of situation, because when you go beyond the space and time, it is hard to explain. And the changes are always happening in time and space. So but what the problem is, you feel that you are changing, you are moving, you are dancing, everything you are doing, but understand that all that change happens in the body and the mind, and you are different from that body and mind. And so who are you? That is what we are trying to, because what is the theme of this book?
Atmabodha.
Atmabodha means a realization or an understanding of yourself. That's what it is. So who are you? Shankaracharya is saying that right now I feel that this body is me, this mind is me, this hair is mine, it is me. This structure is me. Shankaracharya is saying that there is a slight difference. It's like your car. It's the most wonderful instrument you have, but understand that you are slightly different. So who are you? Out of curiosity, I'll just explain, right? So consciousness is considered as yourself, or the Atma is considered as yourself. And what is this Atma we are talking? That by which we are understanding the mental activity, right? That by which we are aware of our emotions and thoughts, what is happening in our mind. That is the nature of the consciousness. So that consciousness is different from the thought itself. It is the awareness of that thought. That is what we are coming to. So essentially, right? So let's go to the Swapna Drishtanda we have been talking. So in that Swapna Drishtanda, right? You're lying on the bed, you're dreaming, and in that dream, a tiger is chasing you. So what is going to happen? You're so much afraid. You're thinking that I'm going to an end. This tiger is eating me immediately. So at that point of time, let's assume that that dream becomes a lucid dream. Mind you, what is the lucid dream, by the way? Anybody knows?
When you're half awake.
Yeah. Two people gave the same answer at the same time. Wonderful. So the dreamer is aware, means in the dream you are aware that it is a dream. So you see the tiger is coming and eating you, right? Even the tiger may like bite, but you know that, right? What he's biting is not me. So at the very same time, means you will be able to enjoy the dream. Means if something good happens in the dream, you will be able to laugh or enjoy that. But the fear will completely go, because the source of the fear is the obsession that I am this body and the mind. So anything happens to body or anything happens in that world appears to be too much problem for me. So the moment you realize that I have an existence outside of this dream, even if this tiger eat me, nothing will happen to me. At that point of time, you will have courage, you will have that confidence. And that is what happens to a realized master. So Shankaracharya is not asking you to get away to that dream, means deep sleep state. He's just telling you that as long as you live in this world, be like a lucid dreamer. So understand your true awareness, which is beyond this dream space, dream time, and dream causation. You have an existence outside of this. This body is given to you. You are just using, means in the dream, you are using a body. And what is that body? Real body. Think of this. That's why this dream analogy is probably one of the best analogy in the Vedanta. So this dream world, you have a wonderful hand, you have a wonderful eye, you have a wonderful like body. But who created that body? You created, right? Your mind created. And is that you? Is that dream, the body in the dream world, is that you? Absolutely not. But you are using it to transact with the dream world. So like that, this body and the mind is given to you for transacting with this world, which is in the immanent space. But understand that there is a transcendent nature, and when you get connected to that transcendent nature, all the fears disappears. Hope this additional clarification helps, because this is the most important idea we wanted to convey here.
It helps, Rajesh ji.
So,
the reason why I asked was I just wanted to make sure that when we say Atma is inactive, it doesn't mean that the Atma is inert. It's still living. It's very
fully
much
sentient, right? Everything else get the sentiency because of Atma. So the word inactive could be confusing, but understand that Atma seems to be active, or Atma is sentiency behind everything, but I think it is not constrained by the time and space, everything. So clarify, please clarify that. Means we need to clarify such questions. So means always keep this dream Swapna Drishtanda in your mind, because the Swapna Drishtanda makes this idea very clear. Because and again, I said, like every Drishtanda, I always say this, right? Every Drishtanda. So Drishtanda will have its own limitation. So when you talk about dream analogy, don't ask me that the world is a dream. No, the world is not a dream. It is like a dream. Vishwam Darpana Drishyaman Nahari. Like you'll see this in the Vivek, means the Dakshinamurti Stotram later. It is like a dream. Nobody is saying that it is a dream. So people say that the world is dream, it can be ignored. No, not at all. It enjoys its own order of reality. But the point is that what we are trying to convey is you're dealing with two orders of reality, because the dream is one order of reality and the waking is another order of reality. Means I was joking the other day, you cannot thirst your quench in the waking state by drinking the water in the dream state. So that is not possible. So this is why the body, means why do you feel that you are the body? Because of ignorance. Why do you feel that you are the dream body, not the actual body? Because it is the ignorance. You are identified with that. When in the dream world, you are so much attached or active through the dream body and the dream mind. So at that point of time, you feel identified yourself with the dream world. That's what happens.
So Rajesh,
yeah,
sorry, just on the same point or same topic, can there be bad Atma and good Atma? And then how it is different from Pretatma?
There's only one Atma.
Atma is neither good nor bad, right? So the Atma, see again, what you are talking is only about the subtle body, the soul. The soul is always different from Atma. So the soul means it is the subtle body. The subtle body means it is the mind, intellect, ego, that ankara, all those things together. So when you say that, means we don't want to call it as anybody bad, but if the karma is not good, what happens? The mental impression in that soul is not good. And when that soul works with a body, you will see terrible action from such people. They will be too much attached to these things. And then out of curiosity, you ask me Pretatma. I don't want to answer that. That is not a Vedantic topic. But out of your curiosity, right? What you intended is,
yes,
what you intended is, sometimes they say, right, a soul is there without the body. So it's in the transition stage. So what does that mean? I don't know. That is what is one way of calling Pretatma. And the Preta means as body without life is also called the Preta, technically. This is, I'm just explaining the linguistic meaning.
But Rajaji, that to Sanjayji's question, right?
Right.
That is applicable to the soul and not to the Atma, the
correct.
Pretatma concept.
Correct. See, the problem is this word Atma can be, means it is, you have to qualify that with, see, in means what you do, like when you do the pronouns, you qualify that, right? Means reflexive pronoun, you will qualify that as an qualifier pronoun. So you have to qualify something with that. Like you may have to call it as Paramatma, just to be clear. Because what happens is the word Atma means self. So it can be used for body, it can be used for mind, it can be used for soul, it can be used for Atma. The most appropriate usage is Atma, because that is the truth. So I think Sanjayji's question, the word Pretatma or Bushtatma or Sukritatma, everything refers to the subtle body.
And the subtle body is the same as the soul.
subtle body is loosely translated as soul. It is
Loosely translated.
yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, soul is an English word. It has a different connotation in the Christian Christian system. What is soul in Christianity is the entity that survives the death is called the soul, right? So what happens per Christian tradition is when the body dies, the soul will go to some place called, meaning something, some state called a suspended animated state.
Animation.
And what happens is on the day of judgment, the suspension will be removed and the soul will be judged based upon what happened during their lifetime, and a body will be created and given to that soul, and the person will be permanently judged for heaven or permanently judged to hell. So this is the reason why I say that loosely translated, because conventionally soul is used in that context, but we can always say that that which survives the death is soul, and that which an independent entity is called soul. In that context, we can closely translate the subtle body as soul. Geena, you had a question.
Yeah. So ultimately, there is only Atma and Brahman.
Correct.
So when we talk about, I mean, everything, like including body, everything is a superimposition. So is it explained like, but it's still different? Is it explained as a two order of reality? Is that how we can explain that?
It is. It is two order of reality. Means you're bringing a very valid question, Geena. So ultimately speaking, what is body? Inert body. From where the inert body came in? It came from the Atma, correct? So remember the discussion we had on the Gita. Initially, there was only this para prakriti, which is the true Atma. From the para prakriti born the apara prakriti, which is the material cause of the universe, all the matter. And the matter is inert and insentient. And there are two types of matters. One is called the physical matter, which constitutes the 5 elements per the Vedantic model. And then there is subtle matter. Means per Gita, it is 3. Vedanta, you have a little bit different, right? It's Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. There are 19 in Vedanta elements. But whatever it is, there are physical matter, there is subtle matter. The combination of this physical subtle matter forms the entire world of matter. But the thing is that the matter is a derived thing from the consciousness or the Paramatma. So it doesn't have the intrinsic nature of the Paramatma, which is the consciousness. So that is why it is considered as different. It is a different order of reality. It is not in the Paramarthika level. The matter exists only in the relative order of the reality, not the absolute order of the reality. Others, please excuse me. Like this is, don't worry about this. This is the like the next level of this teaching. But Geena, that is an apt question. That is correct. This is the reason.
Thank you.
So the complication here is finally everything merges back to one. That's it. Ekam eva advitiyam. So this verse tells the moon appears to be running from the clouds, move in the sky, even though it is stationary. Likewise, for a person who do not have proper understanding, the Atman appears to be moving and doing things. So the active, it's a loosely translation. Just understand that moving and changing, that's what it means. When you observe through the functions of the sense organs and the body. That's what it is. Again, brilliant example. So let's move to the next example. So another example. So Anu, could you please?
आत्मचैतन्यमाश्रित्य देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यालोकं यथा जनाः.
Atma Chaitanya Mashritya Dehendriya Mano Dhiyaha. Deha Indriya Manaha Dhiyaha. Deha means the body, Indriya means the mind, sorry, the sense organs, and Manaha means mind, Dhiyaha means intellect. So all these equipments, whether it is body or the sense organs or the mind or the intellect, Atma Chaitanya Ashritya, they are dependent upon Atma. Without Atma, they cannot function at all, because there is a specific function assigned to the body, mind, senses, and intellect. But they cannot function properly without dependent upon the consciousness or the Atma. So if the Atma is there, that is why means when the person is dead, nothing will function. So just like when the electricity is not there, any powerful electrical equipment will not work. When the electricity is not there, the laptop will not function. So just like that, means Shankaracharya gives the example, like Surya Lokam Yatha Janaha, right? So people can do their activity. You have to consider this an ancient worldview, right? In an ancient world, the whole thing, because when the sunlight starts, people starts their activity. So like that, the presence of sunlight enables people to do their activity, because with the sunlight, you cannot travel. So like that, when the presence of the Atma is going to make people do things, just like the presence of sunlight helps me to transact in the world outside, the presence of Atma helps the body and mind and intellect to function. Again, one more different angle. That's it. The same example.
Rajaji, I had a question on this verse.
Yep.
At the time of death,
Yep.
does the Atma leave the body or the subtle body leaves the body?
Subtle, because Atma cannot leave, right?
Atma cannot leave.
Yeah. The whole definition is the Atma is all-pervading. When the
Right.
Atma is all-pervading, how can it move? And also, there is no, because remember the example we have given was the bucket, water, and the sun. The
Yes.
sun is the Atma.
Yes.
So what is death means? Your
Water goes away.
yeah, water is moved from one bucket to the other.
Yeah.
So it appears that the new bucket has a new sun. A new sun is born there, but practically the sun was always there.
The reason I asked Rajaji was the electricity analogy.
Yeah.
So electricity is more like subtle body, right?
The electricity, it is like the Atma, right? So the electricity is in that analogy, the computer hardware is physical body, software is subtle body, because remember the software is the one that gives the personality. Right now, remember that discussion. Right now, the personality of my computer is PowerPoint, but it can be different game later point of time. So the subtle body gives the personality, and these two works in the presence of electricity. So again, all the analogies are analogies. Just use that analogy in that context, right?
Yeah. Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's just giving, because it's you see, obviously the electricity is not Atma. This is called Upama in Sanskrit.
Yeah. It's contextual.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the important thing.
So in Malayalam, the definition of Upama is like, the example they have given is Mannavendra Vilangannu Chandrane Pola Ninmukam. O king, your face is shining like a moon. That doesn't mean that the person's face is moon. It is like. So that's exactly the definition.
Absolutely.
Okay. So depending upon the Atman, which is the nature of the consciousness, the body, senses, and mind, intellect engage themselves in their respective activity. Just as men work depending upon the light of the sun. If the light is not there, they cannot act like that. Again, you have to see that example in that context. It's just to show the difference between body and Atma. So different examples he is giving just to drive home this concept, because you have to understand that there is only one Atma, and that Atma is different from all the body's mind and everything, intellect, and you are that Atma. That is where he's driving us. And when you think about you are that Atma idea, right? What you have to think is make sure that you're thinking about that dream analogy. So in that dream, in that Swapna Drishtanda, the dreamer me is subjected to suffering, correct? In that dream world. If I win a lottery in the dream world, I'm happy. If a tiger chases me, I'm sad. So means whatever I do, I'm subjected to sorrow in that dream world, because there's always a risk that something can affect me. The only way for me to get freedom from that suffering is to know my real nature. So even it means if I know my real nature as actually the person lying on the bed, then the tiger or tsunami or any terminal disease will not make me upset, because I know that I do have a different existence and I'm different from that dreamer body and the dreamer mind. So when you have that type of understanding, it is good enough to remove any fear from our system. And that's what we are coming to. Swami Vivekananda's example I told you, right? A big multi-billionaire asked him, I have all the money. What can you do? What is there for you to give me? And I don't need anything to live. He said, you need something to die peacefully. And this can give you that peace of mind. Face the death.
That's a great way of saying, actually.
And that's in that context only Swamiji said, like, man dies but once. Some people, a strong man dies once, but most of us, what happens? How many times we die? And I told you the story of Swami Dayananda also. That is in front of my eyes, so I know that very really it happened. He had only life for 2 weeks. Nobody know that he's going to live more than 2 weeks. You should see the way he was joking and laughing and making joke about his own death. Can you imagine? What I felt is like he made use of that 14 days really good. Anybody else? The moment they realize that in 14 days they are going to go away,
I'll start freaking out.
They are gone, already gone. That 14 days is a misery. So that's what the difference is. So it gives something called objectivity to the life. Looks things as they are. Don't add more to that. Most of the times the problem is that addition. And that is what is slowly going away by the study of this Vedanta. So let's see the final verse today. So Anu, could we please chant?
Dehendriya gunan karmani amale satchidatmani adhyasyanti avivekena gagane nilatadivat.
Another brilliant example. It shows Shankara's understanding of the nature, the laws of the nature. So he tells Dehendriya guna karmanya. So the qualities and the activities of the body, mind, and senses, the attributes and the activities, attributes and functionalities of the bodies and the mind, right? Typically what happens, it is attributed, athyasani, like amale satchidatmani. It is attributed to the pure consciousness Atma. For example, the jealousy, the anger, the greed, the pain, the suffering. The pain is a sensation that is happening in the body, but it is getting attributed to me. The anger is a characteristics of my mind, but it is getting attributed to me. All that is the as I said, like the function, the attribute, and the activities of the body, mind, and senses are attributed or superimposed to the pure Amalen Satchidatmani. Mala means impure. Amala means pure. Amala means pure. Means it's the negative, means you add that negation. Mala means pure, amala means no, means double negative, right? Sorry, amala means impure, amala means not impure, meaning pure, double negatives. This is, you can see a lot in Sanskrit. So this Atma, which is pure, is you attribute these things to Atma, and due to ignorance, avivekena. Athyasanti avivekena. This is attributed because of ignorance. Just like that, when you look at the sky, what color you see on the sky? Gagane Neelavadinaha. So the sky appears to be blue. But what exactly is the real nature of the sky space?
Colorless.
Colorless. But you see that as blue. Why? Error in perception, correct? You know the physics. You know the wavelength theory, and the blue light has the wavelength of the blue light, and that is why the ocean appears to be blue. Sky appears to be blue. I think 9th or 10th grade physics, right? You study all these things.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what it is. The colorless sky, the space appears to be blue. Just like that, the pure Atma appears to have all these problems, impurities, jealousy, greed, emotion, thoughts, everything. It is different. 1200 years back, Shankaracharya is telling, just to compare this, you have to look at the alternate writings in the world at that point of time. Most of the people thought that the sky was blue at that time, really speaking. And you have a textbook where clearly calling out, right? It is an illusion. No, he used that as an example, but I was really impressed by his the material worldview also. That is really good and impressive. Okay, so once again, let's see. Ignorant people, because of the lack of discrimination, superimposes the self of the nature, which is absolute pure nature, to the various functions of the body and the mind, just as they attribute the blue color to the sky. So the thing is, Atma is free from all these attributes. Atma do not have any jealousy. Atma do not have any depression. All these things are belonging to the body and the mind. So you falsely identify yourself with that and think through that. And again, I was quoting this example from the Search Inside Yourself book multiple times. I think it is there in the library. Go and read the chapter on mindfulness. The biggest benefit, this is a Google curriculum, right? This is used to train software professionals in Google. In that curriculum, what they are saying is that this is exactly the same idea, ditto idea, no difference. They are trying to make you aware that you are different from your emotions and thoughts. So, but that is 1200 years back, we have that same idea. So these are the three verses we saw, essentially three brilliant examples. I have no words to describe these examples. In fact, we saw 4 verses, essentially describing the nature of Atma. The sum total is the Atma is pure. Actually, do not means it is pure. It is all pervading. It is not subjected to any change. But my day-to-day experience is totally different. I feel that I have pain, I have pleasure, I have change, I am subjected to change. So Shankaracharya is trying to reconcile between your understanding, your experience versus the actuality. So these verses are given out in that context. He is trying to explain or trying to reconcile why this is happening. Why do I feel changes? So Anu, if you don't mind, would you mind chanting these 4 verses once again?
Yeah.
But by the way, the chanting is good, fantastic tune. Really, really enjoyed it. Live chanting always makes a difference. And Bhunaji, Anu chants the Geeta. She is in the chanting group. She's professionally trained in chanting, and I would like you to talk to her one day, because Bhunaji also does a lot of chanting. So when you both get time, please connect each other.
Sure.
See, I have a question on the 20th
Yeah, please.
first
please.
last slide.
Yeah.
It said that Panchakoshas and 3 bodies, and then every other activity, something, a word which I couldn't understand what that was. Your 20th slide, last verse.
Okay, let me check. It might be a mistake also.
I didn't want to interrupt you at that time, but
Yeah. Please, no, please interrupt, because it is.
because you had like an agenda to finish it, right? So I just
No.
It's before this, yeah. See, consciousness is changeless principle. Activities belong to 3 bodies and 5 koshas. I understood that. Everything else acts in presence of Atma. So what other everything
No,
else?
I think it's a grammatical mistake. It should be everything, right? It is not else, because everything acts. In fact, body and the mind.
So that's what I thought. Maybe I'm missing something. I didn't.
No. It's my mistake.
Great.
Yeah, good catch. Thanks. Okay. I know, please. Any other questions before that? Please post the questions in the group if there is anything.
Yeah, I had one question about that. All this, it's different types of chapters deal with different yogas, right? So I was looking at the Ashtanga yoga, and there are like 7 steps to that. So like that, every yoga has got some steps. So I just would like to have like a table as to what each steps, I mean, each chapter has what kind of steps. So are we in that just for our own reference, like our own correction, right?
So on a high level, the yogas can be classified into 4 categories: the karma, the bhakti, and the bhakti in fact is karma yoga. So and on a high level, I would classify the yoga into 3 buckets. One is karma yoga, the other one is upasana yoga, the other one is jnana yoga. That's the simplest thing. So everything else would fall into that category. For example, bhakti yoga can fall into this karma yoga and upasana yoga, because bhakti yoga can be performed as a manasam karma, like a mental meditation of the Lord, a vachikam karma, a chant, and a kaikam karma, like a ritual. Right? When you do
those things you already.
So that what happens is it becomes karma yoga and upasana yoga in that context.
Okay.
So every yoga prescribed in the Gita will fall into these categories, even Ashtanga.
These 4 categories. No, the Ashtanga yoga, they have like I was looking at it, and they have like 8 steps.
8 steps.
Starting from yamam.
So let me come to that. So what happens is this yoga is a broad terminology. It started from the Veda, and different books started giving out definitions of yoga. On a high level, yoga is a spiritual practice. That's it. That is the meaning. A spiritual practice aimed for purifying and stabilizing your mind is the definition of yoga. So you can see that definition throughout the Bhagavad Gita. From 2nd chapter, you have 3 definition. 6th chapter, you have 6 definition. So when it came to Patanjali, what Patanjali found is that there are so many yogas, approximately 80 plus yoga, and people are completely confused where to start, where to end. Correct. So he thought of systematizing this whole teaching. Okay. So he took the entire Vedic teaching and he summarized this into a path called Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga means the royal yoga, which is the king of all the yoga. So the whole idea was he systematized and sequenced that yoga into a prescribable practice. So that is what is the Patanjali yoga or the Ashtanga yoga. So that is where the yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, right? things come.
Pratyagaram, dharana,
Yeah.
dhyanam, and
So this
samadhi.
yama, niyama to pranaya means all these things. If you practice, it will make the chitta shuddhi and the chitta sthiti, and will eventually take you to the
Highest level.
Kaivalya. So the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is a very systematized work on yoga. So the first chapter is called Samadhi Pada, which introduces basically the characteristics of a mind which is in yoga. So that is the first chapter. 56 sutras are given. The second chapter of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is called the Sadhana Pada. So in that Sadhana Pada only he introduces this Ashtanga Yoga. And then he comes something called Vibhuti Pada, the glory of this yoga. Once you practice this yoga, what are all the benefits you are going to get? And finally, the last chapter, he's saying that Samadhi is not the end of yoga. The yoga's end is called Kaivalya or Moksha, which is unification with the self. So literally, grammatically speaking, the word yoga comes from the word called yuj. This yuj has two different meanings. So the first meaning of this, exactly the yoga, that is how yoga is derived. The first meaning is yuj melane, meaning yuj means it is a union, the union of your individual self with the Paramatma. So that is one meaning. That is covered in the Kaivalya Pada. And then the second meaning of yoga, the word is yujito iti samadhi, a well-placed mental state which is pure and stable. So that is where this sadhana comes in. I think we did a session last summer.
I missed that.
But I don't have the recording. I lost the recording. It is not posted anywhere. But I remember
that session again, Rajeshji.
Which one?
This session on Yoga Sutra.
It's not on. Yeah. I think we did if I remember correctly, we did a 1 hour summary of the Yoga Sutra. Somebody was asking me. I believe it was Kailashji or somebody.
No, I think I attended that.
Okay.
Yoga Sutra. I attended that. That was last summer.
Yeah, one day. Yeah.
Correct. No, this one I was looking at it because when I read about Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, I noticed that he has so systematic it is. Very beautifully done. So I was wondering, I am sure in other yogas there should be the steps.
He pulled out from everything, right? He pulled out from everything and beautifully sequenced it. So even the definitions are, I was listening to Swami Dayananda, like in 6th chapter, you have all these definition comes on yoga. So Swamiji was joking, only question is who copied from whom. That's it. Either Krishna copied from Patanjali or Patanjali copied from. He's joking, right? Both of them copied from the Vedas. That's right.
Rajeshji, is Ashtanga Yoga also called Raj Yoga?
Yes, Ashtanga Yoga is Raj Yoga.
Is Raj Yoga, right? Yeah.
So the dharana means what?
Yeah.
Just in one simple word. I don't want to take your time. Just in simple word.
Yeah, because this is a sequence, right? So when you
I understood everything, the pranayamam, pratyagaram, dhyanam, samadhi, but the dharana, I couldn't figure out what that is.
So, let's go from the sequence, right? The yama,
niyama, correct.
asana, then you have pranayamam,
pratyagaram, dharanam, dharana and samadhi.
Dhyana and samadhi. Dharana means it is that focused state. That's it. Dhyana means, it is that starting is dharana. From there it goes to dhyana, and finally it becomes an effortless absorption. That is the samadhi.
Okay.
I think, see, one more point, since we touched that topic. Just like that, this Vedanta also spread across different books. So somebody had to systemize that. Vyasa did that, and that is what is Brahma Sutra.
Brahma Sutra. Okay.
So the Yoga Sutra is a systematization of yoga that happens everywhere. Brahma Sutra is a systematization of the Vedantic teaching that comes in almost every places. And Bhakti Sutra is a systematization of the devotion, which spreads across.
Narada did that, right?
Narada did that.
Yeah.
This is the 3 major work in Sutra literature. Sorry to take 10 minutes extra.
Thank you very much.
Actually, Rajesh, one request. Instead of 8:30, is it possible we can start at 9?
I am okay. Like it is majorities.
It will be pretty late, I guess.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
pretty
okay,
late.
okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, 8:30 is better.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Ratnagarji.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we have to go with the majority, right? So
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Okay, so Bhuvanaji, why don't you, if you could chant?
You asked Anu to chant the 3 verses, remember?
Oh yeah, sorry. Anu, could you chant?
देहेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धि प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम् तद्वृत्तिः साक्षिणं विद्यात् आत्मानं राजवत्सदा व्यापृतेषु इन्द्रियेष्वात्मा व्यापारिव अविवेकिनाम् दृश्यते भ्रेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशी आत्मचैतन्यमाश्रित्य देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यालोकं यथा जनाः देहेन्द्रियगुणान् कर्माणि अमले सच्चिदात्मनि अध्यस्यन्ति अविवेकेन गगने नीलतादिवत्.
Thank you. Bhuvanaji, why don't you chant the Purnamada and we can stop.
He's doing so well. We could ask her to do it also. No problem.
Yeah, you do every day, right? So please.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Anuji. Thank you, Rajesh.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.